And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Boxing with Billy C show. Don't forget about getting a copy of my book. You know I'm going to keep bugging you until everyone on the planet has at least one copy. Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. And you can literally get a copy of it right now by visiting barnesandnoble.com or amazon.com. Now, if you're looking to get an electronic version, don't worry about it. You can get it on Kindle and Nook. And if you're looking to get a signed copy, visit our website, www.billycboxing.com, and go on into the book club section and follow the directions. Now, if you see me at a live event, you can always come up to ask me for a copy because I never leave home without them, and I'll sign it for you right there, and I sell it at a discounted price. And speaking of discounts, don't forget this year's International Boxing Hall of Fame, I'm going to be at the card show selling the book as well. So a couple of options for you to make sure you pick up a copy of Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet. Joining me right now is Boxing Hall of Famer and my main man, Larry Hazzard. What's up, Larry?
Hey, Billy. What's going on, man?
I think the winter finally broke, but anyway, I'm looking forward to green. Well, you know, then I'll be like, oh man, now I got to cut the lawn, you know. But and it's like one thing from another. Everybody's like, oh, I can't wait for summer, and then all of a sudden, oh man, the lawn again, you know. And it's I can't wait for winter. Oh wait, the snowblower, you know. It's like, geez. But I got to
was it up around 80 today?
80.
I couldn't believe that it said 82 in my car.
Oh man,
so I thought something was wrong. You know, was it really?
Well, I just got somebody was telling me in the chat room down in Westchester it was 71, so maybe a little south. It was close to 80. It didn't quite get to 60 here. It was 58 or 59. But anyway, nonetheless, it's happening. It's moving. But listen, I got another email for you. I wanted to read. And this is from Alex. He says, Larry, if a fight is scored a draw, should the referee cast the winning vote? He says, personally, I feel the referee's job should only be looking after the safety of the boxers and making sure the rules are followed, but I'm curious to hear what your thought is on this subject. Thanks. What do you think? I know that the refs used to score the fight, right?
Oh, when I broke in as a referee, you had two judges sitting outside, and the referee would be the third judge. There was always an argument as to whether that was a good system.
Hey, that wasn't the 10-point must system either, right? Wasn't that just like
at one point? Well, at one point, you know, it evolved gradually. It was a 5-point must system. It was a rounds with a supplementary 5-point must system in many locales. New Jersey, New York. It was based, you know, it was a round system with a supplemental point system in case of a draw, which really wasn't that effective. As far as the referee being the third judge, it had its positives and its negatives. I felt that it was more negative than positive. So much so that when I became the commissioner in New Jersey, that was one of the first rules, along with the replacement of the mouthpiece when it was knocked out. Those were the first two initiatives that I undertook as the new commissioner in New Jersey. And the reason that I did that, having been a referee, and I'll be honest with you, having the responsibility of judging, there were occasions where I would be so intense and so focused on the fighters and protecting the fighters and making sure they abide by the rules, etc., that there were rounds that I would forget to judge. And that's not good, of course. And so I think that it's better to have 3 judges. But I think a better system, something that I would be more amenable to, in case of a draw, have a tie-break round. Okay, I would rather have a tie-break round than to have the referee decide the the outcome. And I think that would be a more fair and equitable way. So I would be against having the referee break the draw, but I would be more amenable to a rule that says if there's a draw, then there would be another round to break the tie. Hopefully, that round won't be even,
They did.
I would rather see it go that way.
I like that too, because they did that with the Boxino, where they would have a tiebreak. The only thing that you'd have to tighten up with that is, which would be a good thing, would be to make sure that the scores would tallied up fairly quickly, because you wouldn't expect a fighter to hang around and start to cool down, and have it go beyond a minute or so, and next thing you know, it's a draw. Now you got to get back in and fight. That would be extremely hard. My question. Well, go ahead.
Well, just to add, Billy, and I agree that's true. And I think if that were the case, then everyone would be on, especially the scorekeepers, would be on notice to get that score, quickly, and so have it ongoing instead of waiting to do one big tally. Just tally it as you go. And so as you get to the end, maybe you would only have a round or two to add in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, you do have to tally it in most commissions, right? I mean, at the end of the round, the commission is got all the totals and right there, don't they? Aren't they doing that?
Well, they should, but sometimes when you look and you see, it takes, it seems like it's taking a little extra time to get the tally. So I don't know what the problem is.
I don't understand that. I don't understand why.
Make sure that's taken care of, but I don't understand.
And when they start taking their shoes and socks off to add, I'm really nervous, But let me ask you a question. Just getting back to the draw, is a draw that bad? I mean, do you hate them?
Well, I don't necessarily. If it's a draw, it's a draw. I have seen fights that were so competitive that I was totally satisfied with the draw. Okay, but for some reason, there are some fans and there are some people, power brokers in the sport of boxing who just don't like draws. I mean, in most commissions, I do believe, and even in the sanctioning organizations, judges are encouraged to try to pick a winner of each round. Try to find some element in that round that one fighter has displayed above and beyond the other, so that you can pick a winner. And I do like to see a winner, because a draw, it's not as bad as a loss, but still in all, a fighter, especially in a major big fight, a fighter goes to camp for 6-8 weeks, and he like to either win or lose. Okay, if his performance is such that he loses, then he loses. Okay, but if he really puts in a tremendous performance and he should win, then somebody should come out the winner. So I'd rather see somebody win or lose. But if a draw, if a fight is so exciting and so close, which is very possible, and I have seen fights of that caliber, then I could live with a draw, but not a lot of draws.
It's funny because a draw sometimes it seems like the right thing to do. You would, in a perfect world, it would hopefully lead to a rematch, and you continue the fight. It just seems that people look at it as a negative, even as a blemish. He had a perfect record, but now he's got a draw, so he just put a blemish on his record. It's like, wait a minute, a draw, really, I don't look at it as a blemish. I mean, I'm like you. I'd rather see a winner crowned, but in a case that it's an even fight, you score it. Right. You're giving everyone the round. Yes. You're doing what you're supposed to do. and you're scoring with a 10-point must system, and at the end of the night you add up the scorecards and you got a draw, well, that's telling me you just witnessed a close fight, assuming that the judging was done correctly.
And it's fair. And it's fair, Billy. I mean, what's fair is fair.
Right.
Now, if for instance, you find something wrong, then you have to look at the system then. Maybe you have to look at the system that's being used to score the fight. But I agree. A draw, if the fight was such that it was a draw, then it was a draw. Because, it could be unfair also to, give the fight to a fighter simply because he's moving forward.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes. And okay. That's a whole nother ball game. Every judge that is a judge in professional boxing, from the good ones to the bad ones, all know what the criteria for judging, and we've talked about this a zillion times. Everyone knows what the judging criteria is. However, from judge to judge, the order in which they put value on that criteria is different, and that's where we come up with these crazy scores. I think that we need to focus more on the order in which you judge a fight. Landing meaningful punches should be more than ring generalship. A guy that is controlling the ring but not throwing and landing any punches shouldn't get the nod because he looks so great in that ring, whereas the guy that was landing punches, and just like you said, just because you're moving forward and you're letting your hands go and you're not really landing flush shots doesn't mean you should get the win the round either.
True, and I also believe, and I've argued this point over and over and over, two very critical mistakes that I think is made in scoring, and yet no one or no group of judges in any jurisdiction has really broken through to change the paradigm of the way that they score fights. In that, if every round seems like it's 10-9, regardless of the quality in which a fighter has performed in that round. And the rules and regulations are very clear in that they say if a round is close, if a round is very competitive and it's close, and you pick fighter A over fighter B, then okay, the score should be 10-9 in the 10-point must system. But if the round is not close, and one of the fighters clearly dominates the round and he wins, then that round should be 10-8. It can't be 10-9. It can't be the same as a close round. That's common sense. But you see it over and over and over. The only time you see a 10-8 round, most times, is if a fighter gets knocked down. Even so much so that a fighter could be losing the round 2 minutes of the round and score a knockdown, and he'll end up winning the round 10-8. And that's totally unfair, to a fighter who has dominated a round for 2 minutes. So he gets knocked down, one punch is scored, he gets knocked down, and he loses now the round by 2 points.
Right.
Where's the fairness in that?
No, and
what I mean?
And you make a great point because, I think that the scoring system, it's ready to utilize technology, where maybe we take the pencil out of the judge's hands and give them some kind of a notepad or something that they can score and start to change it, because that's an exact example. If you and I are fighting and it's an extremely close round, forget punch stats because that's somebody's opinion, but it's an extremely close round. Some people could say you won, some people could say I won, and a judge that picks you over me might say, you know what, they landed the same amount of punches, but Larry was moving forward a little more. I'm going to edge out that round. So that goes down in the books as 10-9. The next round comes out, and I batter you around the ring for 3 minutes, and you know, I don't drop you, that's a 10-9 round, you know, and then you go to the third round, and it could be, you know, another battering, and you get a 10-9 round. Now, really, you're up 2-1. Realistically, you're like almost up 3-1. You know what I'm saying? And it's crazy. They do have to come up with something a little different, I think.
Well, you know, years ago, I came up with a scoring system called a majority scoring system, where I really think that, and I may revisit this at some point, but you know how we are in boxing people. We want to stay in the cave, you know, while everybody else, while all of the other sports are moving ahead, you know, we in boxing, we like to stay behind. When I introduced instant replay, you know, the other commissions, the other sanctioning organizations, they come up with all kinds of excuses why they don't want to modernize, you know. So here's New Jersey out there by themselves with instant replay, where you got tennis, baseball, football, basketball, and all of the other sports are modernizing to get it right, because we have a responsibility to get it right, okay? Correct it if it's wrong, okay? If a mistake is made and you see it, correct it and make it right. That's what we're supposed to do in sports. That's what's fair, a fair thing to do. And years ago, I came up with a majority scoring system where each round, when the scores come in, if one judge has a different score than the other two judges, then we throw his score out, you know, and we do that each round. And it worked good. It worked, but it needed some tweaking, you know, and we were using it in New Jersey for quite a while, and then we had one event where, you know, one little quirk went wrong, and then all hell broke loose, and that was the end of it, you know. But, you know, we have to continue to try to look for newer and better ways of doing things, because, you know, we're supposed to be about fairness, and especially in boxing, you know, and it's a shame when the guy that won really doesn't get the victory, and we're supposed to get it right, and that's, you know, that's what we have a moral responsibility of doing. So, you know, we have to come, you know, we have to change the mindset and start doing things in a more progressive fashion, I guess, you know, but it's going to take some time, Billy, but if we keep plugging at it, you know, it'll catch on.
I think in boxing, if you could take out the human element of, like, scoring punches landed and stuff like that, it would ultimately create a domino effect where you can, you know, tighten everything up, you know. In other words, I'm sure technology has advanced or is very close to where a fighter could have some type of you know, receiver that's could be rubbed on, you know, like a lotion type thing, and the gloves could be some kind of transmitter, you know, and you land a shot you know, in the stomach, let's say, and bam, it scores, you know. And then once you remove that human element, and now you got true statistics, and you could get true, you know, true winning rounds. Hey, look,
it's worth it.
Yeah, no.
Sort of like fencing, like in the Olympics, like fencing.
Yeah, no, I mean, it could.
Light comes on or something, it's worth it.
Yeah, well, I mean, at least this way, nobody can make an argument, you know, that, oh no, that punch didn't land or whatever. But
that's right.
A couple of quick questions. Time is we're almost out of time already. But this past weekend we had a couple of interesting fights, and I, you know, I'm not even going to ask about Luis Ortiz. I mean, he looked great and everything, but, you know, he was fighting Tony Thompson. But the two fights I wanted to get your thoughts on kind of have the same feel for me in terms of the outcome, not for anything other than the fighters themselves. For example, Jessie Vargas, all right, looked really good knocking out Sadam Ali, who lost for the first time. But here's my point. Jessie Vargas has been criticized, and I've seen him live a couple of times, and he's been a hot and cold fighter, and he's fought some decent opposition. He's not, in my opinion, by any stretch of the imagination, the best out there or anything like that, and he definitely needs to tighten up his defense and stuff like that. However, Sadam Ali was coddled and hand-fed cupcakes for 22 of his fights, and except for one, actually. And next thing you know, he gets this opportunity to fight for a title, and what we witnessed was him basically get overwhelmed by a fighter that had more experience. Once again, a fighter that fans go by and people judge the quality of the fighter by their record, and him not fighting those fights to make them better. I blame the handlers and the promoters and everything else. What's your thoughts on that fight and the outcome?
Well, we talk about that all the time. That's something we talk about all the time. That these guys, how many of the champions learn to fight while they're champions? It's like opposite. And it showed in this particular fight. Sadam Ali, as you say, he's been served up these cupcakes, and now and that wasn't a major. I mean, it was a step up for him, but it wasn't like an overwhelming step up against Vargas.
Right.
Because Vargas is a hot and cold guy, but he happened to catch him on a hot night. Okay, but even on a hot night, I mean, he wasn't so overwhelming. I saw many ways in which Sadam Ali perhaps could have won that fight, okay? But because he has been served up some of these lesser opponents, he hasn't learned the basic rudiments of how to adjust, how to, modify his offense and his defense, okay? And you saw the results of that. And
I'll add another thing. He has a trainer that thinks he's a psychiatrist or something. I mean, the guy wasn't giving him any instruction. I mean, very
little instruction.
Very little. I mean, Andre Rozier is a nice guy. But I think he's a terrible trainer, and it goes by what I'm saying. We don't have these teachers. They're teaching. They think they know something different, and really boxing, the fundamentals of boxing really hasn't changed. And you need people to teach it, not new ways. Larry, I got one other one I wanted to tell you about, and this one I think is even worse. Antoine Douglas, who was a middleweight and is 36 years old, upset formerly undefeated Antoine Douglas in a what I thought was an exciting fight. And what bothers me, well, first of all, I love it when a guy that's not given a chance comes in and wins. And I give Curtsy a lot of credit for maintaining his attack and everything else. But here's where my issue is, Larry. I feel the same way about Antoine Douglas, that he was coddled and overprotected. But here's the difference between him and maybe some other fighters. And I'm not suggesting that it's different for Sadam Ali. I'm just saying for different than some of these other ones. Antoine Douglas, in my opinion, is a quality fighter. He's a young kid that definitely shows that he's got some skill. He clearly has heart. He's got it. He's got an awful corner, another terrible corner. He's got a mom that screams and yells. I pity the guy that's got to sit near her in the arena.
I know.
But this kid was crushed emotionally after this loss. This is the type of loss that could ruin a kid's career, and really, I don't blame it one bit on him. He did everything that, with the exception of he should have been using his height and reach, but again, his corner failed him. What's your thoughts on this fight and where Douglas goes from here?
Well, look, here's a kid with all that height. How much of the jab did you see? I'm like, my gosh, the only way he was going to keep this guy away was using that stick. And did you hear any instructions to him about keeping the jab? I said, the most basic punch in boxing. This kid has the height, the size, and everything, and he's not even using it. And that's all he had to do to keep this guy away. Hey, and let me tell you something. He lost that Trixie or whatever his name. The guy was in top-notch condition, Billy. He was like a windmill from round one all the way, and non-stop. That's what he won it off of, okay? But like you said, because this kid, because Antoine Douglas, you know, this kid is a quality fighter, but because he wasn't receiving the proper instruction, I mean, he wasn't being motivated properly. You know, he was trying. You know what I mean? You got to give this kid all the credit in the world for his guts. I mean, I can think of several fighters who would have just threw in the towel on that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, when he went down, I mean, he got up, and he almost pulled it out. I mean, he was coming back, but he just didn't have the strategy.
Well,
and I was sitting here, use your jab. I'm yelling and screaming, use your jab.
I know.
Jab and a straight right hand would have taken him a long way in that fight.
Oh, it would have won the fight.
Never saw it.
A jab and movement would have won the fight. He would have had that guy chasing him around the ring. But here's the other thing. You know, his corner kept telling him he's getting tired. He's getting tired. And when you're fighting, he wasn't getting tired. And not only that, when you're getting beat around the ring and you come back, and then all of a sudden, I think it was like the 8th round or something, his corner seemed like the wind was out of their sail. They weren't talking up anymore. It was a subdued corner. And I think that really was the nail in the coffin, and he ended up going out.
Sad. Let me tell you, that was really a sad performance by the corner, because I'm sitting here and I'm saying the corner seems like they're lost now.
Yeah,
they don't know what to tell them.
Right.
You know, it was kind of sad, like the corner was out of instruction when they weren't given much instruction from the beginning.
I know.
I mean, it was a real sad situation, and you know, I felt sorry for the kid because, like you said, I said, here's a talented kid. And then, you know, you get to like the kid, too. You know, some of these kids, you get to like them because of their background, too. You know, you see the kids, you know, coming up trying to make something of himself. And here's a situation where he's, like, struggling, and he's got a corner that can't even help him. You know, and when he came back, it seems like the corner was just lost. Didn't know what to tell him, and that was it. You know, so
it was almost like he was lucky they were even still there when he came back.
Yeah,
you know, like they were getting ready to pack it in. But I felt the same way. But anyway, Larry, I appreciate your thoughts, and we'll look forward to you next week, my man. And
okay.
Then after that, we'll be looking forward to the other stuff. So
okay,
I'll keep you posted
buddy.
on that.
Okay, buddy.
All right, my man. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
All right.
Take care.
Take care. That's my man Larry Hazzard, Boxing Hall of Famer and New Jersey Boxing Commissioner, giving us his thoughts, and he agrees with what I was thinking about the Antoine Douglas fight. I hope the kid rebounds. I know he was crushed, but I hope he rebounds. He's definitely got some talent, and it's my number one reason why I believe that young fighters need to up their level of competition. Every so often, man, get it up. It's the only way to get better. I'll be back in 2.